All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Sam. I'm here with BNI Coal, and today I'll be talking to you about soil reclamation for surface coal mining. So just a quick overview of what I'll be talking about. I'll be giving some overview on what our process is in stripping our topsoil and subsoil, as well as some of the regulations that surround us in our coal world. And then I'll be closing up on a project that was done in 2018 with NDSU on our mine site. So before we could get our equipment on the ground and before we could start removing any dirt or soil, we must first conduct wide-scale surveying. And this is in compliance with our permit process. So we have to have an area where we where we want to be mining at. And some of these surveys that we conduct are pre-mine land use surveys. So this classifies our land into different categories. So we have rangeland, pasture, cropland, wetland, shelter belt, anything of those natures. And you can see this is one of our areas at the mine. That pink boundary is one of our newer additions. I think that was done in 2015, and we've since then added more to the east of that. We also conduct pre-mine topography surveys. So this is just knowing what our landscape looks like before we could touch it with our mine equipment, and then when we go in to reclaim it, how the landscape is. And so we try to get back to grade as much as possible, but there's a lot of moving parts with that. But yeah, just knowing what our pre-mine topography is like and pre-mine soils surveys. These surveys look at what our soil type is, how much of that soil do we have of topsoil, and how much of that do we have of subsoil. And those are then used as our soil lifts. So when we have our operators out there, they are using that information on how much are they stripping off for our working areas. We also use additional resources such as the NRCS Soil Web Survey and existing soil surveys to get out our inventory of our soils, because on a yearly basis we have to submit to the Public Service Commission our soils handling plan. So that's just keeping us in check so that we're not removing more or not accounting for X amount of soil, so that when we reclaim everything, our soil can all go in the pit and everything will be good and sound. So we're regulated by the Public Service Commission here in North Dakota. Some of them are here. And they set requirements for our subsoil and topsoil respread based on our soil adsorption ratio, as well as our pre-mine soils inventory. So like I said, the NRCS Soil Web Survey and our soils surveying that we do classifies that. And then they categorize it into three categories. So a 24-inch respread, 36-inch respread, and 48-inch respread. It sounds fairly simple: remove our topsoil, subsoil, and then respread it back out. But there's a bigger picture to this. So the picture here is our pre-mine soils. This is called a monument. We have to place these every so much feet apart in our stripping areas. And so this is a soil that has developed over thousands and thousands of years, and it's untouched in our area. So you see, there's different layers to this soil. It has, it's just not the same across the landscape is what I'm trying to get across. But when we're done working in an area and when we respread that soil, it looks something like this. So we have a distinct topsoil line and a subsoil line, and we're taking everything from that native soil and we're homogenizing it across the landscape. And so that's kind of the big picture I want to push here, is just, we do our very best to get the landscape back to what it was, but I don't want to say it's impossible because we're always trying to improve the way we do things, but it's a task. And so here are just some quick facts about mining in our state. So since about the late 2010s, 78,000 acres have been disturbed by mining activity. And those areas go into bond release. So, or they go into bonds. And so they have to meet performance bond release. So 27,000 acres or so have reached that final bond release. And we're taking our soil that has developed over thousands of years and then respreading it back out. So some would consider that young and undeveloped soils. And again, we are disturbing natural growing vegetation, so it increases the influence of invasive species across the landscape where we are mining. And then our soils must reach their productivity levels that were of the pre-mine state. So when we're in an area, we have to make sure when we get it back to the area, it must be at what it was previously or better. And so here's just what it looks like when we are going through from start to finish of stripping our soil and then replacing it. So here's a picture of a dozer that is pushing up our topsoil. He will then put those into temporary piles, and then he'll do the same for the subsoil. And those then, in an ideal situation, would get trucked off immediately to an area that has already been grade approved. So, and we'll start immediately respreading those piles. But that doesn't always pan out. So we are stuck with topsoil and subsoil piles on the mine. And here is just another picture of an area that has been graded, and we're trucking in subsoil to respread over that area. And that gray dirt there is what we would call spoil or overburden. So that's anything that was overlying the coal that isn't classified under topsoil or subsoil. And then here's another picture of a dozer just respreading our SPGM. SPGM is just suitable plant growth material, which is our topsoil and subsoil. So a big issue that surrounds this is compaction, because we are using such heavy equipment, and when we respread, it's kind of like taking a piece of butter and then spreading it across toast, so to say. So we've switched over to using dozers to do a lot of our respreading, just so that they're not relying so much on like we've used scrapers and blades to do that previously, but the dozers have alleviated some of that ground pressure. And here's just a figure of what compaction issues we face are. So you can see the picture on the right side of natural undisturbed soil. And we have roots that are able to penetrate deep and water that's able to infiltrate down into your soil, whereas the reclaimed areas, we have, again, our topsoil, our subsoil, but then the overburden, when it is graded, is still facing that compaction issue. So some things that have been done to reduce impacts of our reclamation efforts, those include applying mulch to areas so that we may retain moisture in our areas, applying deep ripping so that we could bring up some of that compaction, adding soil amendment. So super absorbent polymers has been used in the past, applying different respread depths and seed mixtures to help alleviate some compaction. I know just this past year, one of our other coworkers used turnips, or a rooting vegetable, and so we're trying different things out there on the mine. So with NDSU and BNI back in 2018, we conducted an experiment where they wanted to look at different respread depths and a different seeding method. So they wanted to look at 3-inch respread, 6-inch respread, 9-inch respread, and a 12-inch respread. And they looked at the different seeding methods to go with that. So we did the 3-inch with our native. This picture shows it a little bit better. So a 3-inch with the native, 6-inch with the native, and a 6-inch with the cover crop, 3-inch with the cover crop, and a native. And just wanted to look at how the vegetation is after we followed through with that. They did their statistics and they wrote a paper on that. And so I won't go heavy in depth on that, but we continue to monitor these sites up until 2025, and we'll continue to monitor them. And from what we found is that we've kept some of the invasives at bay throughout all of these treatments, and I'll go through them individually. But this is just more of like a cover data summation of our years. So we've had a lot of side oak, grama, and western wheatgrass predominantly in these areas. And so this is just our 3-inch versus our 3-inch native with a cover crop, and our 6-inch with our 6-inch native with a cover crop. And so in 2025, Kentucky bluegrass is a little bit coming up, but it's still fairly at bay if we're thinking about the percent cover overall. Here's our 9-inch with our 9-inch cover crop. So across the board, it seems that the seed mixture that they used and the different methods of respreading has helped kind of keep these areas good. And here's the seed mixtures that they used at our site. And this, their project they conducted, it was at BNI Coal as well as Falkirk and I believe Coteau. So what does this mean? We've monitored reference areas in our area for just our native vegetation. And so we can see that all the way back to about 2006, 2007, Kentucky bluegrass has been a dominant grass in our area, and that's continued all the way up until today. So whatever we did then has continued to work, and so again, we'll continue to monitor that. Again, one of our north reference areas, same story, Kentucky bluegrass, and some smooth brome have been fairly predominant in our area. And so it showed favorable results, but we'll still have to continue to monitor our areas. And if they do keep providing this data, then we can move forward and potentially use this seeding mixture and their methods to implement on different areas of the mine. And so it ultimately provides a guidance for operating better for our reclamation practices. And yeah, we'll just continue to monitor this area. I want to thank you for that. And if there are any questions.